Hello everyone, welcome back to the Looney Bin. My name is Looney, and typically with these anime manga news story videos that I do, they tend to be more on the silly stories, the silly news surrounding them. But this time I want to talk about a much more emotional and heartbreaking story, because this is a manga that I have followed for pretty much a long time, and always wondered why it just abruptly ended. It wasn't until recently that we discovered why it ended so abruptly, and it came from the mangaka's own words. The mangaka, who goes by the name of Sankakuhead, came out in a YouTube video on his own YouTube channel explaining the reason why his manga, Himouto Umaru-chan, just ended. And before I go into that story, I think it's best to tell you exactly what the manga is about. Himouto Umaru-chan, whose shirt I'm actually wearing, is a story about two siblings, their relationship, and what they go through in their daily lives. The difference from other slice of life comedy silly manga of the same premise is that Umaru, the heroine of the series, outside of her own home, is seen as the perfect sister. She's seen as an honor student. She gets good grades. She's athletic. She's well regarded in the community. She's very popular. But when she gets home, she becomes a completely different person and is represented through Sankakuhead's art. When she is outside and showing that perfect persona, she looks normal, She looks just like your normal high school girl. But when she gets home, he shrinks her down to a chibi form of her. She wears this hoodie that is basically a orange hamster, which also represents her pet hamsters, and she is essentially not perfect. She lounges around, she's lazy, she plays video games, she watches TV, she bothers her brother, she doesn't know how to cook, she begs him for buying her all this merchandise, all this stuff that she doesn't necessarily need, and it gets to a point that it just annoys her brother. And it's a story about their relationship and just how much they are siblings, essentially. If you ever have a sibling, you know what kind of relationship that is, We tend to annoy each other. I have a brother and a sister. We annoy each other all the time. We tease each other. But at the end of the day, we love each other. We do what's best for each other. We want what's best for each other. And we protect each other. We want to be the best siblings to each other. But that comes along with annoying and teasing each other. That's just sibling relationships in general. And this story dives into the relationship between Umaru and her brother. So what's interesting about all of this is that this is actually a representation of Sankakuhead's own relationship with his sister. Umaru is actually inspired by his own sister. His observation of how she was at home compared to how she was outside of her home. All of that is inspired by what his sister was and his relationship with his sister. And that is where a lot of stories tend to get like a lot of their characters based off from. People that they met, their relationships, their family, people they met on the road, just in general, their own life experiences they put into their story. Sure, they make it a lot more grander in stories because that's just what fiction is. It's taking something and making it a little bit more grander for an audience. So if you're interested in reading Himouto Umaru-chan, I highly recommend it. It's a fun little manga that you could definitely spend like an afternoon or a couple days reading. So now let's move on to what exactly happened to the manga that it abruptly ended. Like I mentioned before, Sankakuhead got the inspiration for Umaru from his sister. It turned out that around volume 6 or volume 7, this was about 2013, his sister unfortunately was diagnosed with some sort of disease. And as the years went by, as she started getting treatment to try to get better, it started to get worse. And around volume 10 and volume 11 of the manga, which was around 2015, his sister unfortunately passed away. This essentially just deeply hurt Sankakuhead. He was in pain, he was in grief, to the point where it was very hard for him to continue drawing his manga. It was very difficult for him to just draw anything in regards to Himouto Umaru-chan. And from that, he just decided that he needed a break. He needed a hiatus because it was just too painful. So he asked his editorial department to take a break, to take a hiatus from his story. Despite this break, he was still in so much pain. He was still in so much grief that he just couldn't mentally and physically continue drawing Himouto Umaru-chan. Even during a celebration of the anime, he wanted to tell people that he was happy about it. But at the same time, the grief and pain, it just caused a conflicting feeling inside of him. To the point where like he just couldn't handle it anymore. He needed to move away. He needed to just end Himouto Umaru-chan because it was just too painful. And this is all just pretty understandable, you know? I get it. I understand why he wanted to end it. He even leaves a message that I want to read that really represents what he wants you to remember Umaru for. Umaru-chan as a character is my sister. I hope people don't forget about her. Umaru is proof of that she was alive. If I never had a sister, Umaru-chan as a character would have never existed. I only want Umaru-chan to never be forgotten forever. It means that my sister will be remembered by you all. He wants you to remember his sister through Umaru. In volume 11, he literally has a small little picture of someone wearing a t-shirt. Turns out that t-shirt was actually his own sister wearing it. His sister loved Umaru. She knew she was the inspiration for Umaru. She knew, she loved the way he represented her in his story. And that's what he wanted. That's what he wants most of all. He wants you, if you ever read the manga, if you ever watch the anime, he wants you to see Umaru as his sister, as the representation of what his relationship with his sister was. The reason why he never really told anyone about all this is because he didn't want you going into the manga. He didn't want you watching the anime, having that thought in the back of your head that his sister was the inspiration for Umaru and that she passed away. He didn't want you to feel sad about this manga, this silly comedy manga that he wanted to showcase his relationship and who his sister was. What he wants most of all is for you to remember anytime you see Umaru, anytime you watch the anime or read the manga of Himouto Umaru-chan, that was his sister. That Himouto Umaru-chan becomes a long-lasting memory of who his sister was and that nobody would ever forget her. And that's really how we all can remember someone who passes away. And that we have to find some way in order to have their memories continue living on. That is how you keep them alive, not only in the people who knew her, but everyone else. The memory, the knowledge, the memory of her existing is how we keep them alive even after death. And that is what Sankakuhead did. He wanted you to continue remembering her through his manga. He wants you to know that this manga that he created, that this is the memory of them, that this is the memory of her. And that is what he wants you to always remember. That is how you leave her memory or anyone's memory long lasting. Because the manga will always be there. The anime, you can buy the Blu-ray DVDs. You could buy merch store of Himouto Umaru-chan. And as long as you do, the memory of his sister will continue living on in all of us. And I think that is a very beautiful sentiment. And I think that is a story that is worth telling because I want you all to also remember her. Go read the manga. Go watch the anime and just see the relationship between the two siblings. Because that's what Sankakuhead wants at the end of the day. He wants you to see that relationship. He wants you to remember his sister. And that is what he plans on leaving as the lasting legacy of his own sister. And I think that's very beautiful. I think that is so inspiring, and it really tugs on the heartstrings. It was really heartbreaking and really emotional to hear about this, to read about this. And from my knowledge, Sankakuhead is continuing to draw manga. He's doing YouTube videos now. So whatever he decides to do, just I want him to know, and I want everyone else to know that his sister will always live on within Umaru, and that as long as I am alive, I will not forget Umaru, and in return, I will also not forget the memory of his sister as well. So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you can go and check out Himouto Umaru-chan. It is a great story. I highly recommend it, and I'll see you guys in my next video.